Hi, I'm Paris, and this is my third spring planting season with my raised bed gardens. At the start of the pandemic, when there was lots of time for gardening, I put in a raised bed garden out front for flowers and a couple back in the backyard for vegetables. And each of the raised bed gardens is a different type. Out front, it's metal. Over here, we've got composite, which is recycled plastic and wood fiber mix. And over here is untreated cedar. They've all worked great for growing things, but there's quite a difference in how well they've held up over these years. Through the super hot summers with lots of days, like 90 days, over 100, and the winters with the ice storms and the freezes. Now this composite raised bed garden, my original impression of it was definitely the flimsiest. As you can see, it didn't even make a good solid square when I was putting it together. And there's flex in all the joints, but if you look at it, it looks practically brand new. You wouldn't know that it's been out in the sun and the heat and the cold. The joints are all good. It hasn't cracked. When I've mowed alongside of it and used my trimmer, hasn't left any marks. There might be the slightest bowing of this wall a little bit out from the weight of the soil, especially the wet soil. But other than that, it's really kept itself together really well. The untreated cedar, however, is definitely showing its age. Now I chose untreated to not have the chemicals leach out of the wood and into the soil, since I was using it for edible vegetables. But it looks kind of grayish, which is fine. But if you look at the corner post here, we're missing the top. It just split, the wood split and fell off and got thrown somewhere by the lawnmower. And looking at this corner post lid, you can see the same thing happening here. It's also going to crack and fall off. So is this corner. But that's more cosmetic than anything. The boards have held up pretty well. Have a little bit of bowing. This is a 2-board height, and then back here it's a 3-board height. And you can see the center board there has definitely puffed out from the weight of the soil. And here on the opposite side, you can see the same, the board bowing out a little. I think the bottom board has the ground holding it in place, and the top board, at least with the soil as compacted as it's been, it's not really getting much pressure from the soil. But that hasn't affected the functionality of it yet, and as you can see, the onions are absolutely loving it. Out front is the flower garden, and at first glance, looks like it's doing really well. And it is metal, but not stainless steel. It's metal that's been coated, except where the coating has come off. And now you can see underneath of that, the rust. These corner pieces seem to be the worst, I think because that's where the metal had to be bent to make them a corner piece, but that's where you can definitely see the rust going. It hasn't affected the structural integrity of the raised bed garden. And if you're a ways back, you don't really notice it. But if you come up to look at the flowers, it does detract a little from things in the aesthetic department. And here's the last corner. I think this one's actually the worst. The amount of that material, the coating that's peeled off, you can see it's almost ready to flake off. And it starts rusting immediately underneath. And it seems this rubber topper did manage to stay on one side. I'm thinking the plants overhanging it are holding it on. This one, like the others, it just blows off with the wind. I'll have to put that back on. For the weight of all the soil that's in this metal raised bed garden, it's got to be over 1 foot deep. I remember putting in bag after bag after bag of soil. It's doing a good job of holding it all together. I don't see any bowing in any of the walls. So the corners are doing their job, holding it together. It's just they're slowly coming apart. Well, I don't know. After this outer coating comes off, I'm not sure how long before the actual pieces of metal will rust through. I guess I'll be doing an update when that happens, and I'll see you on the next review.
There are so many choices and you don't want to stress. You want your health food at home, receiving only the best. That's what we're here for. We give honest